Yes, pure shit.
Hey guys.
What's up, guys?
Hey, there we are.
Everyone here? You can hear me?
Yeah, we got you. We hear everybody. All this fancy tech, and it's going. Welcome to FPV Spill the Tea.
FPV Spill the Tea? Yeah, cool.
Well, last week we had guys that helped build Betaflight and bring it together.
Yeah, this is a weird live stream where, like, well, we are weird, and we're also inviting weird guests.
Yeah. And look who it is, Mr. UAV Tech. Welcome.
Sorry, guys. Neil, go ahead. I'll restart my stuff, as always.
Pauses. That's how we're starting this one. We're going to call it UAV Tech number 12, the big awkward pause. Well, Mr. Mark, what do you think about it? Happy to have you.
We're gonna start a whole new playlist of content for this stream thing. Maybe we can get some tech on this. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, like we thought we had fancy tools, and it looks like it, but then we're just still shit streamers. Shit pilots number 1, but shit streamers absolutely.
That could be a whole new line right there, Mr. Nice, with the shirts and
you know, shit streamer. Like I'll have to get that one on the way for sure.
Think about it. You could break out the niche. You could go for all YouTube's all the creators out there. Get some Mr. Beast wearing shit YouTuber and yeah.
I like it. I like it. This is a bigger audience, you know. Unfortunately, I love drones, but there's just not as many of us as I'd like there to be.
Right.
But here's Mr. Yvonne. Maybe he's coming back with us, but either way, it's awesome to have you with us. So yeah, I was saying, so like last week
I'm back. Can you hear me, guys?
We got him.
We got you.
Yeah, so last week we had, you know, these guys from Betaflight that helped build Betaflight, and that was really cool to learn about. And this week you're here with us, and you've dedicated your YouTube career, if you will, to help taking that tool and like tuning it and making it better and sharper. And so I'm excited to learn more about that and you. So thanks for being here with us.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me. So it's always a fun time to get on with people, and it's always a fun time to hang out with Lamone when possible.
Oh yeah, that he can be dangerously fun. Well, do we have you there, Yvonne?
Can you hear me? I feel like I have a delay.
Well, yeah, we can hear you for sure. Yeah, we got
all right, cool. Awesome. So there's no delay. I hope so.
No.
Yeah, all right. So Mr. Neil, thanks for introducing Mr. Mark, UAV Tech. I just wanted to add that also Mr. Mark is a well-known big advocate for like a scientific proofs and critical thinking, and a lot of people do appreciate it, and some people don't, right? As always. So, Mr. Mark, do you think you're like more about critical thinking, or what's the deal with you?
Yeah, I'm definitely so I'm a professional engineer by day. I'm a licensed professional engineer in Pennsylvania, in my state. So, you know, my whole career and life, it's trying to take you know, subjective things, and if they're not subjective and they're objective, to draw that to a point. So I think that's yeah, I mean, there's subjectivity to things, but you know, when there is, and you can get to objective truths, I think that's how you can move the ball forward on things. So that's really what interests me with drones and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah, like from my side, I can say, well, when we had a live stream with Bardwell, I can say, well, Bardwell kind of inspired me to join Betaflight development, but before that happened, you inspired me to like dig deeper into black boxes and like to figure out what is all that. So I think like you and Bardwell like played a kind of big role in, I guess, in my life. Like, is it weird to say, Mr. Neil?
Well, no, I mean, not if that's the story. No, that's
yeah, that's the story. Yeah, but so this is enough sweet things about Mr. Mark. Right now we're moving to interesting parts. So first of all, just to warm up, we have a few games for you, Mr. Mark. They're like not like super tech games or anything. We're not like checking your knowledge. So the first game is, they call this game is this or that game. So I would just tell you two things, and you need to choose this
It's
or
this
that.
or that, but I also have heard it. Who would you rather bone? So we'll have to take it on.
Who would you rather bone? Like,
Yeah, y'all never played that game back in the day? Like it's this or that. Like this or that seems like the 2024 way to say who would you rather bone.
I see. Yeah. Because I was asking Chat GPT how do you call this game, and it told me that. But I guess
of course, because Chat GPT can't tell you who would you rather bone. It can only say this or that. Like
yeah. All right. So we're gonna start. So who would you rather bone? I mean, like, is it something sexual, right? I'm not sure how to exactly translate. All right.
It is.
Well, you're not getting any ad revenue off of this one, buddy.
Yeah, I love also like what's the first one too. So
yeah, so that's the whole funny. So this or that, or who would you rather bone? Chris Ross or Al Bardwell?
I can't even drink my water.
or you can answer this or that. Chris Ross or Bardwell? Hey, I think you're laughing, but you're thinking how to answer it. Like you gotta
Same time. So I got 4 options here, I guess. This or that, or who would I rather bone?
yeah.
Whew. I'm gonna go with the who would I rather bone just to keep it interesting. Why not? And I'm gonna go with Bardwell. I think he has a lot of experience. He had a wild life back in the day.
Right.
Well, and he knows it all. So right.
Yeah.
So
He doesn't know.
Oh,
all right. Well, fair answer. Stick time or tuning?
stick time for sure. Yeah.
That's
Tuning's
cool.
a means to an end. Yeah.
HD or analog?
HD.
But it's expensive.
I'm a YouTube celebrity.
All right. Well, Voxnail or DJI?
$400 a year, Yvonne.
Yeah. Voxnail or DJI, Mr. Mark?
I have DJI because I got it because they sent me a unit back in the day. But I want to get a walk snail unit. So I don't have one yet. But that's
So let's say you have both. What would you rather bone, Voxnail or DJI?
I think I'd rather bone walk snail. I think it's yeah, because I think the options for smaller quads and everything, and I think it's going places. I think DJI is DJI is good, but it's expensive, and so
it is expensive.
I like to bone it cheap.
Yeah, and there are rumors already about DJI 04. Like you can go to DJI website, and there's like Mavic 4, I think, and they say there's something about like 20 kilometers on 04 system. So I don't know. We'll see. All right. So the next one, Kiss or Emu Flight?
Kiss Ultra or just Kiss?
Let's do Kiss Ultra. Kiss Ultra or Emu Flight?
Who would this or that, or who would I rather bone?
Yeah.
Man, that's a tough one. Oh, if I had to choose, I would probably choose Emu Flight, I think, for who.
All right.
Or this or that. Okay, yeah.
All right. So breaking news: Mr. Mark chooses Emu Flight. Mr. UAV Tech himself. Yeah.
They'll love that. That can
All
give
right. So
them fodder on the Kiss Ultra Discord.
All right. So the next question, I guess, is this or that. So this or that, UAV Tech or Chris Rosser?
For me?
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're choosing UAV Tech or Chris Rosser? All right.
Yeah.
Well,
the
That's
OG.
fair.
What are you talking about? Come on.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. So filters or PIDs?
PIDs. PIDs.
Loose arm or bent prop?
Bent prop. Yeah. Bent
RC
prop for
smoothing
sure.
on or off?
RC smoothing on or off? On. Yeah. Doesn't make
All
that
right,
much
and we
of
got some.
Oh yeah, from
And
the
we
chat.
have a question from,
how about
yeah.
Limon or Rosser?
Ooh, Limon or
Ooh.
Limon. I think just because
Yeah.
of he's funny. And
Yeah.
Mm.
Ross is
really-
just another tosser compared to
Oh
Lamont.
wow, I'm like there's a lot of.
no, Chris is good. You guys are giving me choices though. I don't know what to
Yeah,
say.
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
good too.
Oh, look at this.
Yeah.
Brandon Bean says RC smoothing on. WTF?
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yep.
Mr.
Already
Beans.
controversy.
All right.
Yeah,
So now that
You don't need to kill it with RC smoothing, but it smooths it out. It just gives him
Smooth is better than rough.
yeah.
It's
There's
gotta
all
be.
kinds of variables. If you got the the fancy ELRS with all those
Ooh.
quick packets, maybe it's not so important.
Rain Squad says Radio Master or Jumper. I'm not biased though. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Radio Master.
Not at all. Yeah,
Is that what you got there, Radio Master?
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Radio Master's the way for sure.
yeah.
I still fly
So-
FR Sky. So
Although I have 3 jumpers next to me also.
All right, guys, you can hear me? I feel like I'm still delayed, or are we good?
Yeah, no, you're here with
You're good.
us.
You're
All
good,
right,
man.
cool. So let's move to the next game. So the next game is because I kind of figure out we should play with Mr. Mark. So Mr. Neil is questioning himself if he is a big deal in FPV.
Me?
Yeah, I'm just putting you under the bus. So
All right.
obviously, Mr. Mark, you kind of know me, not because I'm famous, but because we kind of worked with you with Betaflight. We communicated with you before. So I'm not gonna ask you what do you know about me, right? So what do you know about Mr. Neil?
I know that he's a track designer, and he has a
All
banging
right.
pool at his house that I've seen. I was like, yeah, he's got it going on.
That's true.
Do you know he also has the OnlyFans page?
Of course, I know that. Were you in
Yeah.
on that?
All right, Mr. Neil. So you're kind of a big deal in FPV.
yeah.
See? Yeah,
All right.
like Mr.
Wow.
Mark knows you. What do you know about Mr. MBA Johnny 5? Well, he's Mr. MBA, but what's besides that?
Johnny is a YouTube star, of course. Good with the reviews. I obviously watching his channel. I've been watching his channel for years. Night Spot. I'm trying to think if he's a fast pilot. I think you guys are all pretty quick pilots.
They're much faster than me. I'm like sportsman. I was 2 spots away from making pro class, but I didn't make it. But these guys are both like in the top 20 or 30 most years.
That's pretty good.
John's solid though. John's solid. He's selling himself short.
All right, so I think
Well, that was a funny game.
I think Sean is in the chat, and this is for Sean, right, Mr. Sean? You see, we're a big deal in FPV.
I love that.
Mr.
love
Shames.
Am I delayed again?
Yeah.
No, you're good.
No, you're not. No, you're not late at all. That was perfect.
Yeah, you just get fuzzy every now and then, at least on my screen. But
All right.
you're a little fuzzy anyways right now in the winter.
He is,
Winter's
right?
rough.
Well, all right. So based on, yeah, let me restart it. All right, guys, keep going. Let me restart it.
Okay.
All right. We can
All
start
right.
with the questions. You want to kick them off, Neil?
Yeah, I got it. So let me ask you this, Mark. So, like with the advances in tuning, which you for sure had a big part of helping, and now the use of presets, which you've also helped create a bunch of presets, like learn more about those. But like with all that happening and how much they're being used, do you now feel irrelevant?
No, I mean it's that was never. I never felt like it's a relevancy thing though. On the flip
Okay.
side of it, it was trying to just help people understand the things that are out there. It really all
Yeah.
started with me with filters, and it was just nobody understood how filters worked back in the day, like when I got started with Betaflight. We knew they were there. We didn't know. We knew they delayed things, but we didn't know how much. Nobody knew the measurements. So it was just about helping peeling back that onion for myself, and then conveying that to other people. And the same thing with PIDs. Like, people were like, oh, it's magic, it's all by feel. It's like, it's totally not magic. It's not by feel. They're specifically, you can optimize them for the specific craft, and it's not you can make it objective, but there is a subjective peak. So the quicker people can get to it with presets and stuff, that's great. I mean, so
but it sounds like you're also saying that isn't all of it, like that you're not done. Like,
so there's still some stuff as we get into like navigation modes more, because of the that's kind of the new thing. I think that's another piece of it that you don't have presetted out there, that maybe there will be in the future once Betaflight gets position hold and altitude hold, but that's a whole new thing. And just helping people understand that PIDs are PIDs. It doesn't matter if it's the flight controller, if it's altitude hold, if it's position hold, if it's a valve, if it's a tank system or something. They work all the same between all the different firmwares and all the different. So if you see a P term, you know how it works. So just like trying to bring that all together so people aren't confused by things, because it's all the same, and once you understand that base of it, you can apply it across a lot of things.
Well, let me ask you this. We'll just start with filters, because you said that's where you started. Let's play a game. Like, we'll pretend that I don't know what a filter is. And then I also have like an elementary level education. Could you explain to me quickly what a filter is and how it works?
Sure. So the easiest thing is if you go into your car and you have the treble on your radio,
okay,
and you turn the treble down, you are sliding a low pass filter. So it cuts out the bass noise. And that's a filter. That's literally the exact filter that we use, because all your audio filters that you use in anything audio, I mean, at the end of the day, that's vibration of air that they're adjusting, and we're just removing vibration on the frame, but vibration is vibration. They all work exactly the same. It's the exact same filter in many cases. So there's filter types, without getting too dorky, but there's different filter types, and they're low pass filter. Yeah.
Okay. So I felt like you tied it to a quad a little bit, but help me again. So we have this knob on our treble, and that turns the bass away. So now, how does that work on a quad? What's happening in a quad when that similar filter is being used?
Yeah. So we're actually interested on the other side of it. We want all the bass noise, the low frequency stuff, because that's motion.
Okay.
We want none of the high frequency. We don't want to hear any of the vocals. We just want to hear the bass. So we are using low pass filters to filter out all the voice parts. If you record the vibration on your quad and play it back, you will literally hear the motors in that noise pattern. It sounds a little muffled, but you will hear the motors spin up, spin down, and it will sound like the motor. And we are trying to remove that sound because the gyro that controls the quad hears that same sound from the motors. So we're trying to remove that out of there. So we just hear the bass noise, which is the physical motion of the quad moving left, right, or prop wash. Has like a bass sound to it, and we want it to react to that.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. So the motion of your stick inputs is more like the bass, and then the vibrations due to your frame or your props or whatever is that treble, and you want to get that filter enough to where you filter out the non-stick input and only are left with your input. Is that kind of how?
Yeah, and you hear the bass noise. So you can hear bass sound on your, like if you just play a track and then turn your treble down on your radio, and you can just hear the bass, and you get it to the lowest bass sound you can hear. That's about 50 hertz, and it changes, certain people I'm sure can hear more bass than other people, on your radio. But around 50 hertz is where you can't hear below that. Prop wash for us is around 50 to 80 hertz. 80 hertz if you're doing pretty good, like real fast prop wash. But the motion then of us moving our sticks is even lower. That's like 15 hertz, 10 hertz, 1 or 2 hertz if the quad's just moving real slow. So it's really, really low, like whales can hear it kind of stuff that you can't, if you could turn it into an audio signal. So we're really trying to get almost all the noise out of it. There was a gentleman, I can't think of his name right now. It actually made an app on GitHub where you could put your black box into it and it turned the vibrations into audible noise that you could play back and hear. And I made a video on that, the 1 October, a couple years ago. But yeah,
nice.
That's very cool. It's an interesting way to think about it. So real quick, then, same thing. I'm still this elementary kid that doesn't understand like what a PID is and how does that work. Can you give us 2 minutes on like for this elementary kid, what's a PID and how does it work?
It's the thing that makes the quad fly.
Okay.
We're not actually flying the quad. We're telling this computer what we want it to do on the quad, and the PIDs actually tell the motors what to do. And those to tweak the computer for it sending the stuff out to the motors to say motors spin up or motors spin down or go left, right. You have these 3 terms that you can adjust to adjust that PID loop, the P, I, and D term. So that's a big thing that I think you got to realize when you're looking at these things in PIDs. It's like you're actually just sending signals from your thumbs to the PID loop. It's actually flying the quad. You're not really actually flying the quad. You're just flying the PID loop. So it's then it comes down to, okay, well, I want to do a quick input with my sticks. How quick do I want that PID loop to react to that? Because you can adjust that. And that's what you're doing when you're adjusting those gains. And the gains have different factors, which we could get into. But do you understand that, little Johnny?
Yeah. I have my hand up in the back of the class. Yeah, for sure.
Right
I have kids, so that's probably about as deep as I would get. And they'd be like, all right. And then they disappear.
No, that's good. That's good. So you said a little bit on the day-to-day, we can switch gears for you, that you're an engineer in the state of Pennsylvania. So can you expand on that a little bit? Like, what's your day-to-day outside of being UAV tech? What's it like to be Mark on the day?
I'm a project manager at this point, but I'm actually a civil engineer. Work for a fairly large company, 350 people across the state. But we do municipal work. I do a lot of wastewater treatment plant. I got into some controls work with doing that, and that had some interest. I wasn't real deep into it, but it exposed me to the kind of control algorithms. We were actually working with process engineers on that really had it, but I was kind of soaking it in by association as much as I could. But on the day-to-day, interacting with clients and helping, local governments and private clients, do their different, it varies. Utility work, private, like schools, like we'll develop schools, universities, different institutional things.
Right on.
Well, like sewer authorities,
Nice.
water authorities, things like that.
That's cool. And look who we got back.
All right, guys. Sorry, what did I miss the first spicy question?
You missed
They're
the
taking it easy on
first spicy question. You missed a little bit elementary school tuning.
All right.
But
We're on question 3 if you want to pick up there.
Yeah, all right. So the question 3 came from Anonymous. Do you feel guilty for making a video of how to convert Betaflight quad into iNav?
Ooh.
No.
Who sponsored that? Powell Spakowski?
Yeah. Did it?
Was that Powell who did that?
Maybe. No, I don't feel guilty. I think it's there's nothing wrong with iNav. It's flies pretty good now that they've added, a bunch of filtering and things that they, Powell ported over from Betaflight that were needed. I mean, if you can believe it, not that long ago, the before like they had the matrix filter, it didn't even have a dynamic notch. Like they just had low pass filters for, I think it was only, I don't know how long has the matrix filter been in there? Like 2 years, 3 years? That's hard to tell with COVID. But
Yeah.
Before that, it was like, guys, come on, you need more filtering. I actually talked to Powell about it before he brought it in, and he was like, no, I don't think so. We're not going to bring that over. I'm like, okay. And then
what a noob. Powell also said he couldn't tell the difference between the ADC filter being off or on. And I commented on that video saying, hey, Powell, your noob is showing.
Yeah. Well, if you're not racing, probably, it's probably not as subtle, right? I think racing really lets you hone in on these things more than others.
Or art freestyle too.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Neil. So sorry guys, this is like a little technical thing. So Neil, you're in charge of, the moving the screens around. I don't want to touch it because it's gonna crash again. Yeah. Cool. So thank you. Yeah. And let me know if I have a delay or something. So the next spicy question: do you feel guilty that some beginners now think that tuning is more important than stick time? Because it feels like there's a whole hobby for some people just getting that set point tracking as close as possible.
Don't feel guilty, but I hope that they're worried about that because they want to be. And, the hobby is different things to different people. Some people love to build. Some people hate to build. Some people like to dig into the details. Some people like to code. You have the Betaflight devs, right? They're admitting a lot of those guys are interested in what really drives them, or all the developers for projects, is they do a thing and then other people use it and say, wow, this thing's amazing, or that's really cool. That gives them a tremendous amount of pleasure, and like, enjoyment in the hobby that they're participating. So yeah, if people want to tune and that's what they like doing, then go for it. But yeah, if you really want to get better, obviously stick time is where it's at. You shouldn't just load a preset and go. The presets, I think, were huge for back in the day when Betaflight was competing with Helio and these other projects, and people were like, oh, this is better than that. It really all had to do with defaults. And now that Betaflight has presets, now it flies well with all the different quad types because there's presets, and because there's some big adjustments you need to make between a 5-inch to a 10-inch or a X class. Like, you cannot just use the defaults. For a 5-inch, you're good. The defaults are probably fine for almost all 5-inch quads, unless you really want it to be kind of the next level. But they're not going to fly so great on a 8 or 9-inch. Definitely not on a cine lifter, things like that. So that's where those presets really come in handy. So
yeah, for sure. I think I see a lot of noobs like in the beginners Facebook group or other ones that they get their first quad and they fly it for like 2 hours and they're like, oh my God, my quad feels like crap. I can't keep it from crashing immediately. And it's basically all just things do with like not knowing how to fly. And they think it's the drone though. So they'll like go down this spiral of watching all these tuning videos. And it's kind of like you tune after you're a good pilot, right? To know the difference. But before then, like, just fly. Like, it's not the quad. It's most likely you. And like that's the weird like subtle thing to like try to communicate. But like you and everyone else is basically telling people like, look, if you're starting out, just load the defaults, load the preset and go. But we still find people that are just like can barely connect Betaflight to their quad and trying to tune because they think it jumps up too quick. It must be a tuning problem, and it's like no, you just don't know how to fly.
The ideal for at least the presets that I make, and I think it's the presets for everybody that everybody makes is, and I would say by and large the ones in beta flight, and probably any of the other firmwares as well. But beta flight's the only one has the sliders, and you're welcome because
yes, that is a big deal. So thank you for that.
Or because I was the one pushing that, and I had to go through a lot of lumps to get that through. I think Ivan was there. There was a lot of convincing that needed to be done, but it was good because like the all those guys that were on last week, I've known them for a long time. Like that initial group, I was in the initial group that made that, as that group of folks started to coagulate together. I was there. And it was really me on my hands and knees begging Chris Thompson to help me figure out why the dynamic notch was not working like we thought it did. But we can get into that if you guys want to at another time. But really with the presets, all you should really need to do is find the class of quad that you're using, pick one of those presets, and then in beta flight, since we have the master slider, if you want to make it, if you want to goof around with it, just move that up and down a little bit. That's it. And outside of that, now you're really splitting hairs for the other little settings, I would say. And if you want to, sometimes people want to just mess with stuff just to see. Then yeah, go for it. But nice. Well, Yvonne, you're back, and while we have you, you want to ask the next question?
Mr. Quicklash in the chat says that EmoFlight had presets in 2020, and I want to add that
I do remember that.
I feel like I'm back, but I'm way delayed.
Yeah, well, what do you want to add? Just keep talking.
I can still hear you.
Give me a second.
Oh, fuck. All right. So, Mark, rumors have it that you have a secret repository of presets for your Patreons only. Is that true?
Yeah, for iNav. Yeah.
Oh, for
iNav.
I like it.
iNav.
I like it.
Okay, nice.
Well, I would just say that congratulations. That's really smart. That I think more people should, more people should learn how to not learn, but just everyone should profit from their talents. I don't think that's a bad thing. So I think that's very cool.
Well, and it's not so every month, and I'm always trying to figure out how I can give Patreons, folks that support the channel, how can I appreciate, show them, how can they get something that's something different or special, or, a lot of times people just participate, just at the general support of the content, but what can we make it a little bit more special? So that's why I split stuff out like that. It's really just to say, hey guys, I really appreciate, your support. And it does make a big difference. This all takes away from family time, and it surely helps, to get that time afforded by spouses and stuff like that. That there's a little bit of something there that so it's not just, hey, you're not going to the basketball game this afternoon with your son,
right?
Yeah, for
out
sure.
there in the garage with your stuff.
Yeah.
So guys, if you want that real return to home on iNav, go subscribe to UAV Tech and join up on his Patreon to get some of those super secret presets, and your quad will come right back to you, almost right into your living room if you needed to. So go check it out.
Fancy. I like
Am
it.
I back?
So, Mr. Yvonne, the rumors are true. Rumors are true. There is a secret presets repository for Patreons only. What do you think about that?
Yeah, what do you think?
Isn't it like a violation of open source rules, whatever they are?
No.
I took your code, I repackaged it in an exe, and I'm selling it. How does that make you feel?
Unacceptable. Yeah, I will file a complaint to. I don't know who do I file a complaint to? To Chris Thompson and Chris Thomas, to both of them.
Yeah, both Chris Thompsons, the real Chris Thompson and the other Chris Thompson. They're all getting notices, official letters.
Exactly. Yeah. No, seriously. So was it true or no? I missed the whole thing.
Yeah,
It's true.
All right.
But it's only for iNav. It's not for Betaflight. Only iNav.
But iNav doesn't have presets.
But it does.
It does.
It does.
Oh.
If you join UAV Tech Patreon, it does.
Yeah, I wanted to add. So the EmoFlight developer was in the chat. He said that they had presets in 2020. I gotta say that LibraPilot had presets in 2015. So you lost the competition.
Yeah, presets are good, but the way they're implemented, the way you did it, Yvonne, was, I'm sure, you could have done it a lot easier for less time for you to implement it. But the way you did it in the robust manner is what made it work. So
yeah, well,
multiple people can contribute. It's easy to manage in the system. It's fairly easy to manage, I would say. It's like a cloud-based system like that. You had a big vision there, and that's what really made it successful, I think. Not that they weren't successful in other, but there's a lot of presets in Betaflight.
Oh, for sure.
And gotta say also thanks to Chris Thompson, because he was also like a big inspiration, and we discussed with him the preset system like a lot. Maybe we spent as much time discussing presets as I spent time coding these presets. And I think.
Oh, before we go, we missed a super chat by Not Sure. $10. All matter is energy condensed to a slow vibration. So thanks, Not Sure, for that.
Oh, yes, that's awesome.
Oh, and Machine Head FPV asks, AI tuning, is it pie in the sky or is it possible? What do you guys think?
AI tuning. Well, this is what we have Mr. Mark for.
I would say if it was like a year or two ago, I would say it's pie in the sky. But some of the stuff that AI is doing now, I mean, Chat GPT has blown me away. Right? I mean, you can put into that prompt a lot of stuff, and it comes back with pretty darn good answers. So you want to feel like it's possible. At the end of the day, it's just stepped inputs. I think the reason we don't have auto tuning is because I don't even think you need AI. I think it just needs to be a good algorithm that it's a little tricky because it needs to do a stepped input. One of the things that in my mind that I've always wanted, if I was this good at coding, I would just do it, but I'm not. Why can't the pilot just provide the stepped input? Like you put it in the tuning mode, and then I have a video on like this, the tuning moves you need to do, right? Because way back in the day, that was like a revolutionary thing in the hobby. Like people were just flying around. It's like no, you got to do certain moves, and it's not pretty. It's do stepped inputs this way, do stepped inputs this way, do stepped inputs this way, and that's how you can see how the controller is reacting to your stepped inputs. So why couldn't we just do that while it's in that mode and it's seeing the overshoots and moving the turns up till it gets to an overshoot and then moves them back down and locks them and does all that. So I feel the only reason we don't have auto turn is because it takes a lot of programming to work all the way through all that. The stuff that was in like LibraPilot for auto tuning, you had to click it into a mode and then it went into like an auto level mode, and then it would just start shaking and jiggling the quad. I don't know if Yvonne, if you ever use that, because I know you were talking about LibraPilot a lot. I don't know if you ever flew it or whatnot, but it was kind of scary because while it's doing this, you're not controlling it, so you have to have like a big open field. And
I've never used the auto tune in LibraPilot.
But even iNav, so iNav, and when you auto tune for airplanes, you flip it into the mode, and then you start to do the moves with the plane, and it will start to adjust the parameters. Then you land and save it. So why couldn't there be something similar to that in any of the firmwares? And I think it can be, and I think it would work. I think the reason it hasn't worked for quads so far is because just the methodology of how we were going about it was not. You need bigger stepped inputs than it going into level mode and just doing a little bit of shaking and shimmying. Like that's just a micro little input. You need some more significant inputs than that. So yeah. So I guess long story short, I don't think you even need AI to do it, and it would work.
Well, let me ask you this. So we talked a little bit about before, I guess, like add on to like the first question, but like, you know, quads fly. I've been flying quads since 2012, and like they flew really bad then, and like they fly really good today, and like what? I mean, can they get better, or are we like done? Are quads as good as they're gonna get?
Well, I know in beta, I mean, we're at this with a 5-inch quad on beta flight. We're at the spot where even with a preset, if you have the appropriate motor strength for the weight of the quad, like you have like I always say, it's a 6S 5-inch racing quad. So it's a lightweight quad. Usually the motors are pretty powerful. You are just following. It is just following your sticks most of the time. Like if you would look at a black box with the input you're giving, it's just tracking that perfectly. So that's as good as it's gonna get. I mean, right? Then it's all you. It's stick time. It's like, you know. So yeah, as long as you're, doing that set point tracking thing and it's following it, like, man, it's all me from there on. Is it gonna get better than that? I feel like if you don't have a good flying quad, it really has to do with your motors not being as powerful as they really need to be for it. And that doesn't happen so much with 5 inches, but it does for 6 and 7 and 8, 9 inches quads. Like why do they are more difficult to fly? Is because a lot of times the motors are undersized. Yeah. Yeah.
So now it's more about like assembling the correct build, motor, ESC, prop combo for your weight and size. Yeah.
Well, and it's we say, power to weight, but it's not power to weight. It's power to moment of inertia. Moment of inertia is the spinning force. Like you grab a heavy object and the force you feel trying to change the rotation as you're going like this. That's moment of inertia. So it's really the power of the motors compared to how much moment of inertia the quad has. And there's a square factor that's involved in the calculation of moment of inertia. So it makes, the quad gets a little bigger and the mass gets farther away from the center of the quad. It's that squared is the impact on moment of inertia. So like, oh, well, it's just a little bit bigger, but I meant to from a 2804 to a 2806. It's like, yeah, that's not enough. You need to go like to a 30 something, it's a lot, the motors need to jump up more than people generally think. So, but they're out there. Those motors are out there. So that's the biggest thing. If you have a bigger quad and it's not flying great, and if you're at least loading a preset for that class, it's probably your motors need to be a little bit bigger and it will make it fly better.
Or just like, like I saw some, here it's build better 661. Like, Yvonne talks about that all the time. There's just some principles in building. Like some people have a quad that just isn't properly built, and then you really can't tune out what's wrong with it, I guess. I mean, like that they're like, if someone, for people out there watching, what are some basic things they should look for in their quad before they think, or they're like, hey, something's wrong with my tune? Just like in physically checking their quad, like my quad's flying funny. What should they look for in that?
That's gonna sound like old hat for me, but I professionally tune quads for people. Like people that, like Johnny FPV has sent me his quad to tune for him. while ago.
Mhm.
Like some pretty significant folks in the hobby, and then just a lot of just normal Joes like us, right?
Yeah.
Whenever I get a new quad, I don't feel like I really know the quad until I run a black box on it and I look at the raw noise, like the vibrations before any filtering. If that's low or within reasonable limits, then she's a good, that's a good start. If that's a mess, you got build issues you got to take care of, and it's like, oh, I'll just do more filtering. It's like that's a cover up. That's never gonna make it better. You need to have it doesn't need to be perfect, but it needs to be within okay threshold. And I have content on the channel about what's a decent amount of noise if people are interested, or they can always reach out to me. But
Sure.
yeah, so that's what I would always do. Like if you're having an issue, or even when I build a quad, the first thing I do is look at that to make sure what I did okay. Did I make any mistakes? Does it not look good? It's like putting your car on a dyno. You know what I mean? You built a car from scratch. You want to see if it's working all right. You're probably going to plug it in nowadays to electronics and see is everything coming back right on the sensors.
Yeah. Well, now we got Limon, poor internet. That makes sense.
And this is a poor
Are we
camera.
on your phone now?
It's like a laptop, so I'm not sure. I have both poor internet and also PC crashing on me. So that's how I program. That's how I program Beta Flight. So
yeah.
What's going on over there, Limon, with the internet? You guys need to all support Yvonne here on the channel so we can, the dial up is just not getting them there.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah, it's rough. Yeah, Houston.
All right, go to question number 8, Yvonne.
Yeah, all right. So question number 8, Mr. Mark. No judging. I just want to put it out there. No judging at all. But what made you post a video about the cheapest online backup for 2023? Amazon AWS plus Cloudberry backup.
Because I thought I had this secret thing that I knew of that was super cheap, and I still think it's super cheap compared to the other options, and I wanted to put that information out there. Just because I was I've been using this for years, and I pay $1.50 for cloud backup a month for, I think I have 4 terabytes out there now. I'd have to look. And I just wanted to, spread it out there because I figured in the FPV hobby, people have a lot of data. Maybe, I don't know. People are getting footage. How are you backing that up?
True.
It was just I was scrolling through your videos, and then INAV Beta Flight, keys tuning, whatever, and then all of a sudden this cloud storage, and what the heck? Someone paid you to do this video?
No, I cobbled that together myself. Through the years, just figured that out. I don't know. I thought it was something. All the computer science people commented on it. They're like, "Oh yeah, there's even better than that." I'm like, "All right, well, you really burst my bubble here, guys, but that's all right."
All right. So the next spicy question, maybe not spicy, but so why you don't race? So where can you tell where you live, what city, without address, and let's see if chat can find a local chapter for you to go race.
Yeah, sure. Try to find it. It's Scranton, Pennsylvania. Scranton, Northeast Pennsylvania.
Isn't that where the office is?
Yeah.
Is there office tourism points in Scranton?
There is the Chamber of Commerce. You go there, and I think it's not there as much, but that was a big chamber thing, right? When that was getting started, the chamber, I'm sure, was a big promoter / tried to work to make that happen to be Scranton, I guess. Or I don't even know if I didn't live here during that era, but
okay.
Yeah, so that's the town. Yeah, Scranton, PA, with the offices. But yeah, you'll go to the Chamber of Commerce and they'll have life-size, cardboard things of the different characters there. At least that was I don't know, a while ago. I haven't been down to the Chamber of Commerce.
So Jordil says that there is Central PA quad racers. I don't know how far away Central PA is, but
like 3 hours. That and Philly. There's a bunch of group guys down in the Philly area, like a Reading area. I don't know that they're racing though.
Bob Grinder is over there.
Yeah, but he's not. I mean, that's not like a racing thing.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
Yvonne, we also missed number 6 because. So if you want to do that one now.
All right, yeah. So, well, unfortunately, I cannot share my screen because it says Ivan shares his screen.
Oh, yeah, well, that's why I skipped it.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so the question was, this meme where like a guy opens Betaflight and there's like 1,000 sliders, right? Do you know this meme? Yeah. And so, because you were like a big influencer on how sliders are named in Betaflight, how many sliders, like why did you have to make it so complicated?
That was all a compromise in the big discussions. I would have done it a little differently. I wouldn't have as many as there are. I would have probably half, maybe not half, but at least 2 less in there. But it's it's not my choice. It's a group of people talking through. I was just happy we got sliders to
So which sliders would you remove? So there's damping, there is tracking, there is stick response, there's dynamic damping.
It was a big thing. The whole concept that I think I really brought to the hobby was the concept between the ratios between the terms are what matters, right? I have a lot of talk about that. It's like the P to D balance and the P to I balance, and even the PI balance. People like challenge me on that all the time. It's like, no, guys, just go look at this stuff. It's not my opinion. It's fact. So you don't need. We have right now a slider for damping and then a slider for tracking. You don't need 2 of those. You could just need a P to D balance slider. And if you look in Betaflight 4.2. It was like that, and then I think in 3, I can't remember.
Yeah,
I think in 4.1 it was flipped. And
if I remember, wasn't Chris Rosser like in that slider debate, and he had one opinion, and there was another group that had another opinion? Were you on the same camp as him, or in the opposite camp?
So Chris didn't enter the scene yet at that point.
Okay.
Before that. But Chris was, so when we first implemented the sliders, it was me with, and I can't think of the guy's name. He's not active anymore with it, but I caught his ear and he was better at coding. So I can't code a lot of stuff, but he, I had kind of where we were trying to go, and he would work on coding it up. And honestly, we got it implemented. I think it was Betaflight 4.1. And then honestly, the rest of the devs just never used it and didn't care about it. And then I think in 4.2 and definitely in 4.3, since it gained popularity, it became a thing. So at that 4.3 point, when they kind of got revamped to have the current look that it is now, Chris Rosser was in the mix at that point, and he backed me up. He was like, yeah, these ratios and how this works with you can move all the gains up together, and that's, helps with prop wash, but once you find the ratios between the terms, you can slide them all up and down all together. So that was huge to have.
Mr. Neal,
support.
Send you the couple of pictures on Facebook if you want to share them. So that, but let's keep going. So. Well, sliders are complicated, and we're gonna blame you for that anyways. So
that's okay.
All right, question 10. Let's go to question 10. What do you got, Yvonne? You want to read it?
Yeah. So this is a question from Anonymous. So apparently you made a lot of videos about SpeedyB, and some people think that they paid you something, and rumors say SpeedyB.
SpeedyB. Yeah.
And rumors say nasty things about you and SpeedyB, and like, how do you explain that?
If they paid me the millions, then I must have missed it. It was finally,
So,
it was you know, that when that Speedy Bee, like where I had the video, it was like my favorite flight controller. I made that video because I meant it. It was a flight controller that had everything, and it wasn't. Well, at the time, it wasn't really expensive. It's even better now. I mean, Speedy Bee is killing it, right? They have like a stack for $40, or you can buy a flight controller for $30. You know, or they're doing a good job.
no, all right, guys. This is UAV Tech live, and he's promoting a company who paid him.
So I can tell you that if a company sends me stuff and it's not garbage, I'll probably make a video out of it. But it has to be either the best, the cheapest, or like the best value, like one of those three. And so like if you start to get more videos on one company versus another, it's probably because they're sending it out and they're actually good, or because they're good enough to where I want to buy a lot of it. And I don't know how it is for Mr. Mark, but it's probably similar. And so like I have a lot of the same companies after a while, like a lot of Radio Master, a lot of Foxeer, the ones that you start to learn to trust. And for a while, it was like Diatone had the best budget stuff, and they just kind of fell off the face of the earth. And there was no one there to replace them. And kind of Speedy Bee kind of picked up that budget stack. And the part where it's probably nasty is like for year one, I heard a lot of people of their stuff was just lighting on fire. And then somewhere around year 2 or 3, it started to become more solid. So like I've checked out a few of them. I haven't raced them, so I can't comment on their long-term reliability, but I'm guessing it's something similar. Like people want to know, how can I get a build up for less than like $400? And right now, that's probably one of the options. What do you think, Mr. Mark?
So,
Yeah.
guys, let me interrupt you a little bit. So, guys, so this was one YouTuber trying to cover the other one, and both are sold to Speedy Bee.
All right.
Oh,
There we
okay.
go.
I want to hear more now.
Yeah.
See that? The Speedy Bee wing.
Yeah.
This is what
Yeah.
I'm.
Ooh.
Oh, I can smell it has INAV on it.
Gonna have INAV on it, but they also support R2Pilot and Betaflight, so it's all my quads have Speedy Bee stuff on them.
Yeah. So, but anyway, did they pay you anything, or they just send you like
They
a
just
couple
sent
of
me.
stacks?
They sent me. I got the F7 flight controller, and they sent me an F405, and I think that's it. And then I have like 6 more of them that I bought after that, like just as I need them. I just
Well, I gotta say that they also sent me like a stack, and that I used on this wing.
Yeah.
So
Did you make a
they
video
didn't send
though?
me that stack.
Well, I
That-
made
that-
a video about wing where I say that this flight controller is kind of cool. But it's
You just like
Well,
said
it
the
worked
word
because
Speedy
then
Bee.
I went and bought that same flight controller to put in my wing.
Oh.
So good job, Speedy Bee.
All right.
Look at all.
Well,
Look at
and,
that.
and,
So
and-
send
and-
them,
I don't know
send
if
them
you
a
go to
check, Speedy Bee.
Yeah, if you go to the Betaflight, .com, and you go to the, what flight controllers are, Yvonne, you know the stats page on the Betaflight.com website. They're up there, so it's
Well, I think the stats for flight controller is broken now. Maybe they fixed it already, but it was broken like a week ago. Yeah. Anyway, so we got it cleared it out. So Mr. Mark got paid by Speedy Bee, but he doesn't admit it. So that's
and I also get paid by Betaflight for promoting Betaflight. Didn't you know that?
Well, you kind of like I think they should pay you less, because now you're doing videos about INAV and like I don't know, like
falling out of favor. That was the big thing when Helio and all those were. Oh, Mark's paid. Really? Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know about the bigger guys, but like I've never been paid for a video other than like getting parts. I don't know if you count that as paid, but I've never been sent money. I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure probably the same for you guys. So like, if you guys are thinking like any of us are getting paid money, it just doesn't happen. I'm sure in like bigger, like if you made videos on DJI Mavics, maybe those guys get money. I don't know. Maybe Potato Jet gets money, but for us down here, like we're spending a lot of money on our own. I don't know about you guys, but like it's like anything I want, I have to buy it myself. So.
I gotta admit, I did get paid one time.
Oh, nice.
What was that?
One time when
Spilling the
DJI
tea
came
here.
out. When
Oh,
DJI V1
DJI money.
$300, and I made one video. That was it.
That's awesome.
Was it $300? But you have to buy DJI stuff.
No, they sent me the DJI stuff.
Hey, I would take that deal for sure. DJI, call me.
There we go.
It was, they had a sport or a pilot. This was like in the very beginning of it. I kind of and that's to some extent why I just only made one video, because that's what they, that was my review. They sent me the thing and I made my review. And it was everything I said in that I believe, and it was true. It was talking about how nobody was really talking about at the time how it had that anti-interference, how it like retransmits packets. So I was really focusing on that because that was new and unique. I don't think anybody talked about that or showed it that before my video. And then after that, Nurk was doing tons of content on it and things like that. But yeah.
So what would happen like if some company sends you a piece of garbage, but they pay you $1,000? Like, how would your video look like?
If I would make a video,
yeah.
You can't. I don't even know. I would probably just not want to do the video. I would say you have to fix this before I can release this. And
all right. Interesting question about the DJI. So you made the video so basically DJI paid you $300. Did they have any input on, like, did you have to show them video before you release it?
No.
All right. All right, guys, you're in the chat, you're judging. You believe Mr. Mark or you don't?
Mark, what's been your most controversial video or the one that caused the most drama?
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Well, you've been in the hobby for a long time, and you used to fly race flight, and you should feel bad about that.
Yeah, I did. I don't know if I feel bad about it, but I definitely flew it. I flew it hard, and I really liked it. So I don't really.
Yeah, Neil is still a secret fan of Flight One. He still like thinks that Preston will send him flight controllers.
Yeah.
Hey, I got out before I got in on the pre-order, so that's
any video that does not praise closed source firmware like it's a deity, you get trashed on. So it's like any video I made on Flight One, any video I made on Kiss, any video I've made on, I guess that was Kiss, Flight One. Oh, Helio. Those all cause controversy, and some of them weren't even like, I didn't really trash on them. I just kind of showed how they flew, and that it was my fault that they didn't fly. Oh, the quad you flew them on was garbage. Yeah, it was a Martian 2 frame. Garbage. I understand. I showed you the black box though, and I flew Betaflight on the same quad. So if it's garbage on one, it's garbage on the other. And Betaflight flew better. But then I get all kinds of garbage, flack.
Well, so, you also did a bunch of videos, like not a bunch, but some videos where you like did a crazy thing, put 2 flight controllers. I think it's just when these people piss you off and like, listen, guys, it's gonna be one flight, same quad, 2 flight controllers. Like,
yeah,
there's a lot of work. I can see that.
Well, I was super happy when I figured out that you could do that. Right. So then you get, that you can arm 2 flight controllers at the same time by just splitting the receiver signal, right? Coming in from the receiver. You just take the signal wire. Mr. Nice is looking confused. You just take the signal wire.
That's funny.
You just take the signal wire and go to both flight controllers, and they can both arm. And then you have to get all the same settings and stuff like that. It's obviously way easy with like 2 open source things. But yeah, that's a good way to cut down on any variance between different flights and stuff like that, for sure, right?
Yeah, I think it's awesome. So the next question is kind of connected with the previous question about controversial video, you kind of already started answering it. So, like, can you tell us what was the story with the Kiss Ultra? Because we also have anonymous question, and sometimes when I say anonymous, that means that's my question, but this is not my question. So this is not my question, and it's anonymous. So how do you feel getting the whole Kiss Ultra Discord in an uproar after your test and your video? And what was, just briefly, what was the deal?
I don't care. I guess is how I feel. I don't know if that's
what happened. Give us a 10-second summary of what happened. You made the video. They didn't like it. Is that kind of what happened?
Yeah, that's essentially it. I mean, if you don't praise it and it's the best thing ever, then people will. So and I look, the reason I will go through this stuff is because I hate disinformation, right? That's like what I'm against. And like that's what I used to. So like Preston courted me back in the day, right? Hey Mark, do you want to be a sponsored pilot for race flight? Like, oh, what's the deal? Oh, we'll give you all kinds of equipment. And okay. I got, we sent a Revolt. I have a Revolt from them. I didn't buy that and all that kind of jazz. But I flew it the first time no offense, Mr. Nice, but the first time I loaded the Revolt schizo, the schizo frame with the Revolt, loaded the schizo preset, and it almost flew away. I was like, how is this the best thing ever? So then, tweak some settings and blah, 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 and got it going good. But I was like, this is not for me. And just objectively, sorry, I don't want to offend anybody here, but I was like,
you can't really offend me.
Yeah,
spill it.
Yeah, it's not better, and it's just like, guys, this objectively is just not better. And that's where I get the stuff, and when I first got the KISS stuff, or just bought a flight controller, because the first time I ever flew KISS, I just bought it's even here, the FetTech. I bought this FetTech board, the FetTech S, I think it is, and I just purchased it and started flying it. And then again, I was just like, how are we thinking this is better than Betaflight? And I just don't get it. And I get what really and to each their own, like I don't care, but what happens is I get so many people reaching out to me going, should I get KISS? Everybody says it's just so simple, you can just fly it. And it's like, that is not my experience at all with it. It's harder to tune. It's, hey, I have a KISS flight controller and I have this bounce back I can't get rid of, or throbbles. It's like, yeah, you're not going to get rid of that with KISS. It's always going to be there because they don't have anti-gravity.
I think they're working on it, or maybe they already made it, but
well, KISS Ultra is working on stuff. Yeah, they're doing, it's moved on because this was a while ago. So yeah.
I think what you end up with a little bit is like people get into the hobby and they make a choice, and whatever choice they made is the right choice. And then they fly it for some years. Often people don't fly other things. It's really hard to like learn how to put a quad together, especially when you're new. And when you get it figured out, you're like, a lot of people are not inclined to then go build the other thing. At least me, right? Like I'm not inclined to go build the next thing or the next thing. Like, so I think then people just then get stuck in the like, well, I made the right decision. What I fly is the best. And then they work really hard to prove to other people that they've made the right choice. And like, and then it's difficult when you come against somebody like yourself that's showing like data, and then they get, that hurts their feelings a little bit because like maybe they were maybe wrong all along or whatever it may be. So I think that people just struggle with that. I don't know.
Yeah. And I don't get any pleasure in that part of it at all.
Sure.
I don't feel good about that. I don't want to argue with people. Like if it's like one of these things like, well, I want to fly and go. It's what happens in my position, it seems, is people are trying to convince me like, this is better. You should do this. You're a tech guy. You should show you're missing out. And then I get it. And I'm like, oh, I'm not missing out. and then I point, like objectively try to come to an objective thing on that, and that people don't like that. The other thing I always thought could maybe happen too is that people start on like an open source with their first quad, first time soldering, janky, hardly comes together, and then they're like, oh, I'm going to save up, I'm going to buy a KISS, or whatever more expensive thing. I'm going to buy this really nice frame. I'm going to get the really nice motor. Like this is going to be the one, and then they're switching from open source or firmware X to this other thing, and they're like, this is so much better. It's like, yeah, because you started with $100 quad, now you built a $400 quad. Yeah, it's a lot better, and it has nothing to do with the firmware. I always wondered if that's a part of it, and I don't know.
I think those are important opinions to share, though, like some of the most important, because like before I was into quads, I was into like cameras and photography and video, and like on the probably 700 videos I've made on the channel, I've used an iPhone, I've used a Canon camera, Panasonic, Nikon, and like several Sonys. And so I'm not married to any brand, and like whatever's the best at the time for what I specifically need is what I'm going to buy. But it's not always the same in FPV. It's like that tribalism, like Neil is describing, and people like you that are going to do the effort of trying both. And like Yvonne did a nice comparison too, to like really tease out those differences, to let people know, like, if you're this type of pilot, maybe it is for you. And if you're not, what you're flying is good enough. Like that's important information to have. And like not many people are doing that. Yeah. And Yvonne, you get some hate, but it's important, and I appreciate you guys doing that.
Yeah. And Yvonne, you did a hell of a job on that KISS video, but you could tell that you were walking a thin line because you knew you were on your.
Yeah, I was.
They're like, this, like, here he is. I'm gonna get him.
So he held back. I'll just say, with some behind the scenes knowledge on that video, Yvonne held back. I feel like he was trying very hard to like pick his words and not be too hard on KISS. He didn't want to upset people. Like I know that he struggled really hard with that. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
I think I even ask you. I even ask you some things about like, is it too hard to say or something? And he was like, no, like you should say that. Just say that straight up, like
And then he didn't say any of them. I feel like he asked me all these things, and like, yeah, you can say that. And then I went and watched the video, and it was like even way softer than it seemed like he was going to. So I think Yvonne is scared of the KISS army. Yvonne, are you scared of KISS people?
Neil's over there, popcorn. He pulls up your video. He's ready. He's like, all right. He's pulled up the KISS Discord. He's ready to see it go down. And then you're all soft. And he's like, son of a bitch.
Well, it's also funny. Do you remember I made a video about D-Shot, like 9,999? And like, it was also kind of a video a little bit about KISS, of course, about Betaflight, but then Neil watched the video and is like, I didn't even understand that it's about KISS. Like, where's KISS here? Like,
and what you guys are doing with the shit pilot thing for racers is the same thing that needs to be done for these firmwares. Guys, it's all shit firmware. Yeah. They all have issues. Exactly. They're all not perfect. Like, don't. I'm not going to say Betaflight's perfect. iNav's not perfect. KISS is not perfect. KISS Ultra is not perfect. FetTech is not perfect. So don't think that, oh, this is so much better. They all have their pluses, they all have their minuses. And if you want to start scoring some stuff, you know where I stand. And Betaflight is doing really good. But I gotta be honest, like iNav is, you can get iNav to fly pretty dang good nowadays. There's nothing really missing in a big way, except for the feed forward and iNav. The way it's implemented is not as good as Betaflight. Once Chris Thompson gets on a thing in Betaflight, he will stay on it until it is perfect.
I think iNav should be pretty good, but they're missing like a true dynamic notch, right?
Yeah.
This is like, I think it's a big deal. And they're missing true RPM filters. They have their RPM filters, but it's like, and I think if they put it in there, then it should fly like really good. So
the matrix filter does a pretty good job at killing the noise. It's not as good as Betaflight, but I kind of look at too, like you start to get to diminishing returns. So I would say the biggest thing that I've noticed in iNav right now is it's hard to get as good strict stick tracking as you can in Betaflight. Like Betaflight, you can just keep it right on your sticks. iNav, you can't quite get it there, and that's mostly because of feed forward right now. So that's where I would, if I was, that's where the most, like the biggest difference that you can actually, I think, feel first, I would say. Yeah, but I don't disagree about the filters too. Betaflight filtering is better.
Who do you think hate you the most? Is it the Keys fanboys or iNav fanboys?
No, iNav loves me. I'm even in the developers.
iNav loves him. He has special presets for them.
Yeah. Right. I forgot about the special paid presets. But then also Mark said that these special iNav presets is based on Betaflight presets that I made. So
no, it's not. I just
you're breaking up.
Yeah, I can't hear you.
Damn internet. Speaking of the internet fund, I popped it up for a second, but thank you, Clint Chapman, for $5 for the Limon internet fund. Like maybe one day we'll be able. He's over there. He's got like a little mice cranking away.
All right, there we go for the internet fund, guys. A little bit of breakout. We're gonna work through it.
The 32K modem to a 56K modem. Oh, buddy.
Yeah, he's dialing
did
in.
you guys hear me or no?
Yeah, well, you're good.
Yeah,
you're back now. It was a hiccup.
No,
yeah, you
right.
haven't left in a minute.
Cool. All right. So the next question, right? It's kind of close to it. So do you have like any opinion that, like a strong opinion?
Well,
that
I think I'm still here, so I'm gonna talk.
Wait.
For a minute. Keep
John, everybody's here. Like,
John, we're good.
Oh, okay. All right, sorry. Keep going.
He wants some of that internet fund. He's coming your way, buddy. You better.
He's like, yeah, I need $5 for my internet too.
Yeah. So John, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. So the next question: do you have any strong opinion that you think most of people in the FPV community would not agree with it?
That
we just lost John.
FPV community would not agree with it. Man.
This is serious thinking.
Maybe, I don't know. Nothing's come other than I don't know. The most flack I get is mostly was the firmware stuff that we just talked about. So maybe like so I have a strong opinion that Betaflight is the best firmware that you can fly, and that is not subjective. It's objectively the best. And that's why it's flown the most by everybody too. Like it's not a mistake. So maybe most people won't agree with that, but I have a strong opinion because I've done my research.
What do you think? What do you think? Like we asked Bardwell a similar question, and he said that he thinks that all motors are kind of all the same. Like that's why he even stopped testing motors. Like one motor 2207. Other motors 2207, they're pretty much similar KV, and like why, like how do I even test it? Like you put it on a bench, you probably can tell the difference, but other than that, all motors are just motors, doesn't matter. Like, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think there's stuff around the edges on a motor, but so I would say that these motors truly do have differences. I think you start to get to a spot where so this is favorite term I have in engineering. It's called perfecting the irrelevant. I think you get to a spot perfecting these things that you do with a tune, or you do with filters, or you do with any of this stuff, that you get to a spot. It's like, dude, you're perfecting the irrelevant. It doesn't, what you're doing is such a marginal increase that it doesn't matter. So, and I think that's maybe what Bardwell is kind of saying.
Yeah.
But I do believe that there is differences, like because people are putting these on test stands and it shows differences. But I could see where it's like in flight, because we're not really getting the motor unwinding on these test benches, right? You're getting the static load, right? Static thrust on them. So
Yeah, what do you think about Chris Rosser doing the static tests of props and motors?
He's killing it. He's killing it. He's awesome with the testing he's doing with the battery thing and the thrust fans and the dyno, you know, and coming up with unique ways to test this stuff. It's awesome.
But what do you think in particular? Because I was always thinking that 5 years ago, people were like the companies were making props that are good, showing good results on the bench. But these days, like HQ, Gemfun, they moved from that and they're making props that are actually flying through the air. And when you test them on a bench, they just like showing poor performance, right? But that's kind of expected. Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, so he's not catching the motor, the unwound performance of the motor, or motor unwinding, I guess is the best way to say it, right? It's always pushing that static column of air. So he's seeing the torque differences between them, like the how fast it can speed up and slow down. That's really, honestly, almost the most important thing. I mean, there's the total thrust for, I would say, racer, probably most care about that, right? For speed. But how quickly it can spin up and spin down, obviously it has the ESC plays a big role. So as long as you're using the same ESC, right, then you can test the difference between the motors. But he's doing that, and I guess that was done before as well, but the way he's doing that's a little different. Nobody's really catching how the motor reacts as it unwinds, you know, with
yeah. I think you're talking about motors, but I was asking about props because I think like the companies moved to making props that are meant to fly, and you know, and like you get that kind of static thrust stand when you launch a drone, but that, or like when you do like a sharp 180 turn, basically stopping your quad, and so that moment it's kind of like on the bench, but all the other times it flies and it has like an incoming air, and like I guess the prop characteristics should be different. So then why do we testing?
Yeah, so any bench testing is just not the end all be all, right? It's just one data point, and you know how it's flying in the air is that's where kind of Bob Ruge comes in and just gives his opinion on how it feels, and that's just one guy's opinion, you know, too. So you got to take that for granted. I don't get worked up in it all that much between the different props. I just fly HQ and I'm be done with it. That's all I really go with.
Do you think in your life, did you spend more time tuning or flying?
Ooh.
I would say definitely tuning, because I do. Yeah.
And do you do also like commercial tuning, so people can like pay you a little bit of money so you tune their quads, right?
Yeah. People will send it to me.
So the next kind of question is kind of related to that. Like, how many times have you had a customer's drone catastrophe fail during tuning?
Never a catastrophe. I've had them crash, but I don't induce the crash. That's what I tell people. When you're tuning somebody's cine lifter, you don't crash. Like, I don't crash. If the thing crashes, it's because something mechanically failed on it. So like APD ESCs, I've had multiple times where those will desync on like a 10-inch. Usually a lifter, there's 8 props, so you don't it will catch itself, but you'll feel like a little arm drop or something. And even on the like on a 10-inch, which is just a quad, sometimes it will catch itself many times. So they'll resync and find the timing. But that I've had 2. One, I have to lie. I've crashed one time. It was Johnny FPV's quad, actually. It was the last tuning flight. I was recording like I always do the before. So as soon as I get the quad from the customer or whatnot, I call him a customer. It sounds so official, right? I will record what it flies like, right? So they can see that. And then I'll do my thing and then record what it's like after that. I'll put that together, send it to them and say, hey, this is where I'm at, blah, 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 blah. How does it look? And they're like, oh, almost all the time they're like, wow, it looks so much better. I'm like, all right, well, I think I'm done with this. I'm going to, pack it up, blah, blah, blah. Here's the settings, all that kind of good stuff. So the last flight I was doing with his, I got a little close to the ground, and it just caught a little grass and kind of tumbled. It wasn't a big. It just kind of was tumbled at the grass, but it broke a prop. So that was the only time. Other than that, there was another guy where it desynced. You guys have seen the field behind my house.
Yeah.
Dozens of times. And it fell, and there was tall grass, and I thought it fell out in the grass, and he didn't have a buzzer on it. And so I was looking for it for hours, and here it fell 15 feet from me in the short grass, like not 15 feet, but it was probably like 30, 40 feet from me in the short grass. After I was out there for hours, it's all dark. I'm like, I'm just gonna have to come back. And it's even worse because it's somebody else's. Like, I have to find this, you know. It was nice. A tenant. I found it. It was fine because it kind of caught itself as it was tumbling, the ESC desynced as it was tumbling at the very end. It kind of caught itself, and then I hit the throttle, but it hit the, it like hit the ground, and nothing broke, but it didn't hit it, full force. So it was fine.
So I think that question was from Anonymous, and his name is Mr. Johnny 5. So what other things in your life do you PID tune?
What other things in my life? Well, not much anymore. As in, like professionally for my actual job.
No, sorry, no, that was for me. Just like again, this is like, but just like, outside of quads and planes, are there any other things in your life that you use a PID loop for, or that you tune?
No, the only time was we had a plant project. So where I got kind of introduced to it for the first time is we had a plant project, and we had tanks. And there was this tank filling operation thing that had to go on, and they used it. Then the controls guys working close with, because I was the engineer, the plant engineer. I was working close with the controls guys, integrated controls on this thing, and we were using PID loops and stuff like that, which are incredibly simple. That's the thing that's in the quad, like, and like the code that runs the PID loop is it's like two terms subtract each other. The derivative term's just the slope of the line. It's not complicated stuff. So that's when I got into the quad side, and there was all this confusion around. It's like, God, this is actually kind of simple things. It's just the gains. So.
Well, hang on. So let me ask you this then. So like, how did you get into quad? So was it from like you did this control project, and you learned about and that's what brought you to quads, was from actually?
No. So I was flying RC airplane. Well,
yeah,
that back in since like 90, 95, 96. Actually, I just pulled this out.
Yeah. Oh, old school.
What?
That's real old school.
Ooh.
This was my first.
Dude, that's like some Doc Brown.
Yeah,
I like
stuff.
It. My old man had a radio like that.
Yeah, so that I was flying quad or airplanes back at that time. Then, so I was just in high school at that point, right? Just had my in 96, I was 16. I was born in 80. So
okay,
pretty easy. 95, 15, that kind of a thing. So right before I started driving, so like 14, 15, probably like 15, more like 15, 16. I remember the one point I was working, I just had a plane in the back of my Volkswagen, and I would just go by the field every day and fly. Obviously, shortly after that, girls became more important. Partying became a little bit more important. Plane started to slide by the side. Went to college, same deal. Got married. What got me back into it is we actually had a kid. My oldest boy. We were Christmas shopping, and I saw like one of those little micro drones with a little toy camera in front of it. And I saw the camera, like, oh, that would be so cool to be able to see from, the perspective of there. And that was in 20, 14 or 15, and that's
Wow.
what. And then I got a I don't even know what the hell it was. It was like a foam piece of junk thing, and then after that I got a Racer. It was a Racer 250 drone.
Okay.
Old school, prefab thing. It had like plastic arms. It had a carbon fiber frame, but plastic arms. Had quad motors. Had an FPV camera, and flew that for a long time. I even have some videos on that. Like the first videos you'll see on my channel were with that Racer 250. And then I remember clearly that Racer 250, I took the PID loop down to 500 hertz and it would flip over when I armed it. So I reported it as an issue to Betaflight because I put Betaflight on it because it was clean. It came with clean flight. So I was cool. I was going Betaflight on it. So I reported that to Betaflight, and I was so excited when Boris responded on the issue. I was like, "Whoa, it's the man that developed this." And so then after that, went a little farther, and then for some reason, filters caught my eye. I was like, "What are these filters thing?" And then I started looking around at documentation. There was like no documentation on like the delay of them and stuff. So I started doing a lot of research on it, and then I was like, "Well, I'm going to make a YouTube video on this because this is pretty interesting." I learned a lot of information on how much delay goes with them, and then I made some calc sheets and all that kind of stuff. That's kind of where it all got started. And I started making YouTube videos just so my wife would stop giving me hell about buying all this stuff.
Nice offset.
Yeah,
I was like, if I can make like $50 $25 a month or $50 a month, that would be great,
Yeah. What was the wife? What was the thing that kind of got your wife to kind of get off your case? Was there like one particular moment, or did you get something for the house? I know for me, it was like spiraling out of control. I mean, I'm sure these guys started seeing me showing up at races like a lot, and I was spending time making videos. And then we needed a new fridge one day, and I was like, "Here, fridge. All right, this is a YouTube fridge, and don't complain to me about videos anymore."
Yeah.
That was good for that 1 year. And then, but I had to hide all my actual quad parts receipts because those cost way more than a fridge.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like right at the pandemic. We were all, both home a lot. And then she was like, how's that going? Because it was always like, oh, why are you doing that? Why you're saving all this time on it? And then I revealed, because YouTube was a lot better back then too. What was coming in. She's like, really? And then all been downhill from there, buddy.
That's funny.
But yeah, no, it's still good. I mean, you got right. Anybody that does YouTube, you need to understand. Anybody that still does YouTube clearly understands that you have to pick your non-burnout point and ride that line,
right?
And you make it that it's because it's not, unless it's your full-time job, it's not your full-time job, and it's a hobby.
It was a very scientific statement from Mr. UAV Tech.
Yeah, you like that statement of fact. But it's you're right. It's easy to get burnout. So it's you got to kind of pick your happy point with it and do what works for you and do what makes you happy. Like they say, you got to do content that you want to do.
Mr. Neil, can you show the little pictures that I send you?
Yeah, let me pull them
on
up
Facebook. Because we already passed the questions, but we kind of like promised people, we didn't, but.
Oh, we didn't. All right. Well, hang on. Let me.
Yeah, let's see. Because there are like a couple of pictures about keys and these crazy Betaflight sliders that Mr. Mark came up with. Like we could have had just one slider, like a good tune or bad tune, but
Oh, sorry.
Eventually, I just wanted it to be.
yeah, look at that. Like you can play like it looks like a music, like a notes and the music.
But the artist, they just didn't put in the hours. How many dynamic dampings do you need at the bottom?
Like all of them. Like I need all the dampings. But you see, they're all different. They're all like different positions. Like
It's
so.
a lot of different dynamic damping.
Yeah.
And at least they picked that slider, like dynamic damping, like the one I always turn off. Like,
can you zoom in? Like
Oh, I don't know if I can zoom in.
Or it's like
Let's make up some bollocks. Who was that? What was that?
Oh yeah, what was this one about?
Whose video
it
is
was
that?
about keys. It says something about that UAV tech losing some marbles.
Oh,
over Keys Ultra. So yeah, I just found this screenshot.
That was those haters.
Yeah.
What means losing marbles?
If people don't think I have an archive of stupid things people have said that are in the industry, they are wrong. Well, that was dumb for you to type. I'm going to just screenshot that. I'll put that away right over there.
Mr. Mark, there he has a compromise on everyone. This is funny. Yeah, and this is a screenshot from Mark's video about keys.
I don't know if I've seen this one.
It's like at the end of your video.
But they don't provide any evidence. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, so you see, you even forgot. But anyways, yeah, so to make it clear, even though it looks like we're hating keys, but we don't. Like, I tried keys, it flies pretty good. I kind of enjoyed digging it through. So, much love, keys.
And from my side, Kiss flies fine. There's nothing wrong with Kiss. There's nothing wrong with flying Kiss. It flies fine. Don't try to convince me it flies better than Bane Flight. That's where I draw the line.
It's all these fucking YouTubers that making the hate, making the hate, right? Like we're good guys, it's fucking YouTubers.
Yeah.
I like the hate though. It's at least more understandable than the ones that say everything is the best. Everything's the best. Okay, so Mr. Mark is like one of the top authorities on tuning. So what do you think about some other YouTubers that make a lot of tuning tutorials, but when they show their flights, the flight skill is so low that they're just floating in a field? And it makes me wonder, do they have the flight skill to know the difference between a good tune and a bad tune? Have you ever seen people talking about tuning, but when they show the flight, it's just floating?
I've not watched the only two videos that I've watched of people showing how to tune were like Chris's and Bardwell's and stuff like that. I don't search how to tune videos a lot on YouTube, and it doesn't seem to offer them up to me on my algorithm for some reason. You'd think it would, right? I have seen something similar though, where people will ask me questions about tuning, and then they'll send me some flights that they're flying, and I'll be like, ooh, I feel like you shouldn't be worrying about tuning right now. Like altitude control would be a start.
Yeah, I remember someone on Facebook. I don't even remember which firmware he was promoting. And he came on Battleflight Facebook page and posted a video and is like, "Hey guys, on Battleflight, you still fly with a prop wash? Try to find prop wash on my video." And he was just slowly flying and turning around, kind of hovering.
That's the kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff that kills me. Oh, and so I won't have any prop wash. Dude, you always have prop wash. You're not flying hard enough. Send me your quad right now, and I will show it to you. Come on. But I'm not out there claiming that X or doesn't have prop wash, or I can tune that you don't have prop wash. You just need to turn harder if you're not hitting the prop wash. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just turn harder. And it's all there's to it. You'll find it no matter what. Increasing your tune makes it that you have to turn a poor tune. And it really just has to do with that master multiplier slider thing. But a poor tune, you find it fairly easily in a not that hard of a turn. a great tune where you slid that master multiplier up as high as it can go, yeah, you probably have to turn pretty darn aggressive, and it might be like real slight, and you almost don't even see it if you really get on the throttle, but it's still there. So yeah.
Yeah, Proforce, well, it's just physics, right? Like, I was playing keys. Like, I was kind of impressed with the Proforce handling on keys, but it was still there, of course. Like, I don't know if we ever can do anything with that. And that's actually connects with the next question. Or we already asked it while I was disconnected. Like, do you think?
No, we didn't.
Yeah, do you think like the quads can fly any better than what we have now with the modern software?
Oh yeah, we did catch that.
Oh yeah, we did though.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
we
did? All right.
No, he wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, he's here for it. Well, let's move on to what I have highlighted. So, Mark,
Yep.
have you heard of the RPM limiter?
Oh yeah.
And what we're doing in
have.
spec racing with the RPM limiter?
I've heard of it.
Yeah, how do we break it?
You want to?
So like,
how do we
like,
teach it?
like, how do we break spec with tuning? That's always like, or can you, right? Street League, Freedom Spec, like, what parameters will bring more top speed or acceleration, and at what cost?
So the RPM limiter deal is getting the ESC data back on the RPM, and it's limiting the throttle based on that. That signal that comes back from the ESC has noise in it, and there is a filter that is put on top of that noise. I think potentially there's still noise in the signal. So if you'd filter it a little bit more, there's this line that's telling the motor RPM, right? And it's super noisy like this. So it's filtered, so it's noisy like this. But see that up and down, like that variance? So this is hitting your RPM limit. So it's pushing the RPM limit down because those little spikes are hitting the top, right? So if you filter it even more, that little oscillation in there should be even less, right? So you can get that little bit more. I feel like it could easily be going on to the perfecting the irrelevant that we talked about before.
Sure.
But it could also be the placebo thing where if you do said filter adjustment, you will feel like I've done this thing that makes me better
important.
than Yvonne.
Yeah, it's very important. Yeah.
That makes me better than Yvonne because he's the shit pilot and I've made this tweak. So that could be it. I think that's actually what will actually make you faster, that part.
You're not lying about that for sure. Yeah, I mean, I think placebo is real, absolutely. Oh, yeah. But also, a little bit though, like we're perfecting the irrelevant, but in these really slow quads,
yeah,
these really slow quads, a 0.5%, 1% improvement is noticeable because they're so slow and everybody's really able to get all of the quad. So in that, like perfecting the irrelevant, maybe at open class, like there aren't many people that can get a hold of more of it. But in the really slow spec, it feels like 0.5% can do something.
Yeah. So give it a shot. See if you can. It's in the CLI.
Nice.
Mr. Journal, no, don't do that. Don't do that.
Know exactly which one.
So, what do you think about like PID values? Like, wouldn't the quad with like a sloppy PID tune fly faster because it's kind of like less noisy?
Yeah, same deal. Yeah, you actually want to probably over filter, I think, or have lower gains, right? Because that D term thing, same thing. That PID loop. No matter what you do, the signals going out to or the commands the from the PID loop for the motors into the mixer still has vibrations in it no matter what. So the more filtering or the lower the gains, or both, will reduce the oscillation in that signal, and obviously the less there's this cap, and if there's a lot of oscillation, it's hitting that cap and it will push that down. That's why if I mean, you guys have had this, right? You bend a prop. I don't know. Do you ever have like a noise issue, or you bend a prop or something, then you give it full throttle and you don't hear it like really whine? It doesn't really go like, wing, you know, you can hear like the motor RPM. Well, that's why, because of that oscillation in the vibration in those signals. So if you're trying to really out, and it's like, yeah, well, then prop wash is going to be worse. It's like, is that important?
It kind of is, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it kind of is, because during prop wash, you're doing like a hard maneuver and you want to get around the flag as fast as you can, right? So you want all your energy to be directed that way, but then your energy during prop wash is like, and then so that also could be bad.
So you have to,
Mr. Mark. So if you figure out something, that works, just send me a private message.
No, I shouldn't make a public video on it.
No. You need to start with small group testing. It starts with small group testing. Then we'll let you know if it's made any difference. We'll let you know. We'll call you.
Yeah. This was the garbage. Theory debunked. Forget it. Not worth a video.
Put it away. Don't waste your time on this anymore.
We have another question from one of the viewers that sent the question before. So they claim, I don't remember that, but they claim that once you made a video that people need to try to crank up the eye gain slider all the way to the right to have better tracking or something. So the question was do you still stand with that, and how many people you think had a crazy quad behavior because of that advice?
I don't think I've ever told everybody to crank the eye gain slider all the way up, but your eye gain is a part of tracking just as much as your P gain.
Mm-hmm.
They both push the quad to be on the stick. So having a low eye gain will give you more deviation. I just did a video on this recently where I showed a P gain without eye gain. When you make a stepped input, the quad actually never gets to, if you're saying it to be full rate rotation, it never gets there. So you need a little bit of eye gain, and then just a little bit of eye gain. It takes a while to get there, but just the right eye gain, it just goes up and falls right along it. So you want all the gains, you want as high as they all can be, but they all have to be in balance with each other. So you want the D as high as possible, and then you want the P as high as possible that you don't get bounce back, and then you want the I as high as possible that you don't get wobble, and then that will give you the best performance.
Oh, so since we talk about tracking and damping, so this kind of sliders, right? So let's come back a little bit to sliders. So you name the slider tracking, and this is PI gain. So I have a little bit of bitching point about this naming, because the beginner looks at the tracking and he's like, well, I want all the tracking, and then he what's the bad about more tracking, right? But
that's good. Get those trackings, get your tracking up as high as you can, and then if you have bounce back, you need more damping.
No, but he's like, well, why would some noobs don't want all the tracking? And then he's moving it to 2.0.
There's if you're just going to get in there and start moving a lot of stuff around, I mean, why don't you pop into the CLI and start changing a bunch of stuff there, or grab all the filter sliders and slide them all the way up or slide them all the way down. You have to, there's some, I would think most people are just setting a preset and then making small tweaks from there. But if somebody's just going to start going crazy in there, it's like, well, you have to be responsible for yourself and don't stand over the quad when you arm it.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's a lot of times I change stuff in firmware and I set it way over there. I'm like, all right, here we go. So because I'm testing things and
Yeah. So there was a question from Mr. Daniel Apple. You know him, right?
Yeah.
He's Tech Llama. So he says, Mark, about what percentage of GoPro owners have never taken their action camera on a better adventure than you have taken a rock on? Have you named any of the rocks? Like, I have no idea. I told him, like, listen, you need to explain it to me, but he's like, no, you just gotta
Yeah.
ask.
So I think most GoPro owners have taken better rides than my rocks or rock, but because it wasn't that, it was a tuning flight. That's not that great of a ride, but I think it is for a rock. I mean, how many rocks on the planet have gone for a flight? Probably not that many.
True.
Yeah.
Rock on.
Rock on.
Cat liked it when I strapped her ass. No, I'm just kidding.
So and like, also, have you named any of the rocks?
No, I have not. I should have, like Rocky or something, you know. I'm near Philly in PA, right? That's good. But
Yeah.
I had not named the rock. So what he's getting at is when I would get cine lifters to tune, I didn't have. I didn't have this at the time when I first started. So this is just like a dummy. It's 3D printed with a bunch of stuff on the inside. I actually got this from Quad Standard Labs. I was working with them. A bunch of BBs in it, actually. Quad Standard Labs sent this to me when I was doing some tuning for them. So I didn't have this. So you got to put a dummy weight on for the red, right? So I just would get I know how much they weighed. You could just look that up. And I would just go out in the woods and get a rock and strap that on there. The one time I needed to do a rock, and then I took like a barbell, like a dummy, like, you know, my wife has those little barbell things, strap that to it. So that's what he's talking about. So it was in one of the tuning videos, I think.
Nice.
I want to, since we talked about cine lifters, we kind of discussed it with Neil a little bit before. So, like, but what's your takeaway? Because when I look at the videos, I even look some comparison of like a good camera on the drone versus like a GoPro, the latest GoPro. I can't tell the difference. And some of the videos I watched, the guy is like, "Oh, this video from this good big camera is so much better," and I'm looking at it and it's like, it's not. Like, and then the question is like, well, why all the professionals picking these big cameras and expensive drones where they can, it seems like they can just put GoPro at like 5K and just send it and it's gonna be good. Like,
yeah, I mean, I think there's, in the film industry, I think if you go in there with a GoPro, they're gonna be like, noob, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Like, I think there is you know how, Yvonne, when I said that I used what was it, a Get Desktop to do my GitHub in and out, and you shamed me for using Get Desktop. You're like, you need to do it at the command line. What kind of noob is this?
Well, because that one just was simply because I don't know how to use Git Desktop, and like,
it's awesome.
And you asking me questions about it, and it's like, I have no idea. Open command line, like.
So,
right. So I can answer a little bit of that, and that's because part of it is when they're making like a film or a commercial or whatever, they need the drone footage to match all the rest of the stuff. So it has to be gradable. And so the red cameras that are big, you can fit different lenses onto it, right? So you need the lens color to match what they're using for the A cameras. Then you need it to be raw so they can color grade it also to match. And then you have to have like it set up. But I agree with you. Like, if you just take default settings on a red camera versus like default settings on a GoPro and fly both of them like in like bright sunlight with no filters or like ND filtering added, it's probably going to be hard to tell the difference, because like modern GoPros are really, really good, but they're not raw. So like the editing people are going to be bitching because they can't make that color match the other cameras. But for like what we're doing, if we're only showing the flight, it is kind of pretty tough to like go pixel peeping and tell the difference.
Even so the only thing GoPro is missing is raw.
Yeah.
And then and then Mr. Marco will be without the job of tuning big drones. Like,
you know, even at flat, GoPro doesn't give them enough. Like the I'm not using the right word.
Yeah,
Where you
you're
can
right. They
filter
do have a
many
flat
colors
color
and stuff.
picture. They have a flat picture profile now, but like the editors want 10-bit, and then they want raw, so it like gives them more. It's just more options. And then most of the time, the A cameras are like the bigger version of the red. So like red matches red, and it's just easier in the end result to like, because what you don't want is like shot, then drone shot, and the drone shot the colors look a little off. It has to match.
Yeah.
And so like that's a big part of it. And then the other part where like Yvonne, you were saying you show up on set with a GoPro, they're gonna laugh at you. That's another part of it. Like even if you gave them the footage, they might not even know the difference. But when they're showing up with all these big things and you show up with this little camera, they're gonna think you're not professional. Yeah, right. Yeah.
All right, guys. So I wanted so whoever's watching it right now or later, can you send to this email? How do I show email? Neil, can you show email, please?
I don't know how to show the email. Sorry, like
What's the email? I'll put it in the chat.
Oh, this one. Yeah,
That's a no.
Yeah, there you go. There for a second. There you go.
yeah.
There it
So
is.
this email at the bottom is shit.pilot.live@gmail.com. Please send me a video of someone comparing a GoPro versus like a good camera on the drone. That I'm a noob in video, just so that I can clearly see they're different, and there's like I should be like, wow, this is so much better. And then we'll cover it in the next live stream, maybe. If I really see
on the next wipe down, we can do that.
yeah,
for
on
sure.
the maybe on the next wipe down. Yeah. Mr. Mark, who do you think we should invite next? Like, what do you think would be the interesting guests to have here?
I know all the who would be interesting to have.
Like Preston, right? He would be interesting, but he probably won't.
Boy.
You know?
Where's the exact address you're at right now, Preston?
So yeah.
I have some like that picture thing I talked about, a screenshot. I literally have a thing from him basically saying, hey, we should start some drama. It's been a little quiet right now. It would be good for business. I was like, really? It's that's what you're going. Like, so he's a character. Who would be good? I mean, yeah, give Kiss some love, right? We talked about Kiss a lot, even though we're with you guys, it's not it's all good firmware, but yeah, maybe
yeah. Well, I've been talking
Alex.
to Federal Commander, trying to get him on live stream, and he seems not to be interested. And I think today with our live stream, we lost some points for him, so he will be even more against it. I don't know why he doesn't want it, but yeah,
we just gotta have a chance to set us straight. That's all,
Yeah,
if you're not if you're not confident in your firmware, then don't come on the channel.
It's good. They're adding stuff to it. Come on, I've heard that there's there's more.
Yeah,
I think there's like an anti-gravity thing in there. I don't have an ultra board, or I would look at it, even though it would, yeah.
All right, I think that was all the questions, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's been good.
Maybe Mr. Pid Toolbox. He's
Pid
actually
Toolbox,
doing a lot of.
He's on the list. He's on the list. Yep, you're right.
You got a lot of.
So I think that was all the questions. Yeah, Mr. Mark, thank you very much for joining. I apologize for all the video problems and my internet problems. It's finally working. I can see my PC finally works. Like hour later. Cool. Yeah. So yeah, Thank you very much, guys. Thanks everyone for watching. And special thanks for Mr. UV Tech. Subscribe to his channel. The link will be in the video description. See you in the next one.
Heck yeah.
Thanks for having me, guys. It was fun.
Heck yeah.
Thanks
Thanks for coming. Peace.
No.